This is Karina Dean, and this is why Black lives don't matter. Before I even begin this video, before I even say another word, I can be called a coon, I can be called a racist, I can be called a bitch, I can be called a Looney Tune, I can be called crazy by the very people who look at me, by the very people who hashtag Black Lives Matter, by the very people who march out in the streets. If Black Lives Matter, then why do we hate each other? If Black Lives Matter, then why do we call each other names? Why can't we accept each other for our differences? The confusion behind the movement is that we all must abide by this one thing, and the problem with the entire movement is that we're looking for a system, the system that created black versus white, to change its mind. This system is not going to change no matter how much you protest and march for black lives, because the very use of the term black is a part of the system. I've only briefly touched on my research when it comes to the origins of black. And what I have understood more than anything is that the English language is a spell. And we're trapped in this language because it's the only way that we know how to communicate with each other. If we continue to use these words, we are putting the spell on ourselves. What we really need to do is to start understanding not how to perfect the English language like we've learned in school, how to write the perfect grammar, commas and apostrophes and where the periods go. You know, we learned how to perfect the English language, but what we have not been given the opportunity to do is to understand how the English language was perfected. We are not able to understand the symbology behind the words that we use, the energy behind the words that we use. When we use black, we only refer to the history that was given to us. Black history. No history, in fact. No history. Just, we took you from here, we brought you over here, we made you slaves, we called you animals, we didn't refer to you as real people, and ever since then you've been trying to integrate into us. That is the story of black. That's black history. Black history is no history. What about before then? What about your bloodline? What about your ancestry? What about your real culture? What about the science behind that which you refer to as black? A lot of people who refer to themselves as black will say, well, black people cannot be racists because racism is a system of power. Indeed, racism is a system of power, and in the days of slavery, that system was very physically seen. But today, we don't necessarily have people pulling cotton for, a master. Today, we have a different form of slavery, and it's called a 9-to-5. We have a different form of slavery, and it's called abiding by a system that continues to perpetuate hate. So with that being said, anyone of any hue can participate in racism. The power structure of racism has to do with human beings and how human beings are able to make it continue. And how do human beings make racism continue? By their belief systems, by what they believe. Why is your skin of a darker hue? Why? These are the things that we need to look into instead of trying to be a part of a system of government that created racism. Racism is artificial. It is man-made, handcrafted. And one of the faces and the masks of racism is to continue to use black versus white. Those who are the oppressors, they no longer have to have a direct hand in it. You'll perpetuate it for them. You know, I'll go to the store and a woman of color will judge me for stealing from her store. An Asian woman, you know, a Hispanic woman, a black woman, an Arab woman, they will judge me for walking into the store and thinking that I can't afford to buy their things. So who's the oppressor there? Where do you find the oppressor there in that situation? You find them in the belief systems, because that is how racism thrives. Racism thrives off of these belief systems. So why don't Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter don't matter. Black lives don't matter because Black lives were never supposed to matter. To be categorized as black is to be categorized as nothing. Is to be labeled as something to catch and bring back into slavery. That's what black means from the English language. And I think and I believe that that's why Native Americans don't refer to themselves as red, and that's why Asians don't refer to themselves as yellow. Because when you categorize and group yourself under this term, you might as well be the slave that is running away for the white slaves to come after you. That's what you might as well be. And that's one of the beginning injections of white superiority over black superiority. So I believe that we really need to start looking at this movement called Black Lives Matter. I mean, to me, it's very obvious that it is propaganda and that it is being pushed in these shows like Empire, and being pushed by celebrities. You know, if you keep falling for it, you're just going to keep falling into the tricks. You're going to keep falling into the trap of racism. Black lives were never supposed to matter. That's why Black lives don't matter. You were labeled black so that you could be identified as a slave and be caught. And that's why Black lives don't matter. I am on my own journey of looking into the divinity of black, the true divinity of black. And it is not black with the English word black, because the very word, the very language that we speak is a part of it, is a part of the spell. So to really understand what we are, to understand who we are, we have to look at our bloodlines. We have to understand why is it that our hair grows the way that it does. We have to understand why is it that our skin color gets darker in the sun. The scientific reasons. We have to understand what happened before we got on those boats. We have to know about the cultures before the black history. Black means void. So when you call yourself black, when you refer to black history, you're talking about the erasing of the memory of who we are and where we have come from. Hi everyone, this is Karina Dean, and you are tuned in to the Cycle Breaker channel.